Hello, and welcome to the employee briefing for the Wing OJT program. Now, this briefing is going to be for new employees coming in that may have never heard of the process of the program, and employees coming from outside agencies that may have never heard of it. This will give you a step-by-step process of where you fit into it, where your trainers and where supervisors fit into the program. We're going to be talking about TBA, the training business area. Then we're going to be talking about the process, and we'll give you some features on all of those as we go through it. Training business area is a system of record for the Wing OJT program. This system has been around since about the mid-2000s. It is an automated system. You can access it via the portal with your CAT card. In this process, supervisors will select the tasks that are specific to you and your workload at your desk to help you better support the warfighter. Now, how is it documented? The trainer and the employee both go in and digitally sign when a task is signed off that the trainee or employee is trained on that task. It's a roles-based system. Now, what I mean by that is if you are a new employee or a trainee, you're getting trained on task and you need to go in and sign off a task that you're trained on, you would go in the trainee role. If you are a trainer and needed to sign off a task that you had just trained someone on or put a start date on a new task, then you would need to be in the trainer role. And work center supervisors also go into their role as they need to. Now, the main component of the Wing OJT program and TBA, Training Business Area, is the Command Job Qualification Standards, the CJQSs. Now, these are comprehensive task lists that capture everything that a 346, an 1101, a 1670, or a 2010 do across the 448 Supply Chain Management Wing. So again, these are comprehensive lists. They are large lists. It doesn't mean that you're going to have to be trained on everything in there if you were a 2010, but we have to capture all of those different tasks to make sure we document what folks are trained on, because you can have some folks that say do PICA-SICA, some that do MIPRs, some that go into PRPS, and we have to make sure that we account for all those different tasks. So that's why those are comprehensive lists, but it doesn't mean that you'll have all of those on there. The tasks that are going to be on your individual training plan, which we'll talk more about in a minute, the tasks that are on your ITP are going to be the tasks that you need to be trained on to support the warfighter. The 448 Supply Chain Management Wing is able to manage all of our own CJQSs. And what I mean by that is we can go in there and update as needed the references, the tasks, whatever we need to do. So we don't have to reach out to the Air Force. We're able to real-time update anything as it needs to be updated. Now, for those tasks that are not done a lot but are high demand and very important that everyone knows how to do them, or the specific employees that do them know how to do them, we're putting just-in-time training modules with those. Now, what those could be, it could be a video, much like you're watching right now, of a playback of a screen of how to, say, access DO-35. Could also be a PowerPoint, a Word document, whatever media is the best for that just-in-time training. That's what will be associated with those tasks. So you will be able to find those when you need them. There's a link in the reference of the task. You copy and paste that into a browser, and you can access that real-time training for that specific task. Playing on one side and then being able to do the work right on the other. Now, supervisors identify tasks by trainers specifically. We don't have a super trainer. We have trainers based on the abilities of a specific task. If I'm an expert on a specific task, then I'm going to train you on that task, and another employee may be an expert on another task. They will train you on that task. That way we are making sure we're getting the best training for each task. All right, so let's talk about the process a little bit. So now the process starts with the supervisor, and the supervisor will go into TBA, the training business area, and create the master training plan. Now, this master training plan is created from those CJQSs that I spoke about earlier. Those CJQSs, again, are comprehensive lists, and the supervisor will break those down into their master training plan. They'll pull the task that's done in their work center to create their master training plan. Now, from that master training plan, they're going to tailor it down one more time, and they're going to create their individual training plans for each employee. Every employee may not do the same thing, so they're going to tailor it to what you do to support the warfighter. Now, once those individual training plans are built, the supervisor will then go and conduct an initial evaluation with the employee. They will sit down and review the listing, talk about the task, what's going to get trained, what they're already trained on. And speaking of what I'm already trained on, so if you're an employee coming from another organization, another work center, the tasks that you were trained on in that other work center, when you get archived in TBA and gained back in another work center, your record gets archived. But the new supervisor can go in there and unarchive those tasks with the previous completion dates, and you're already trained on everything unless there's some new tasks that you may need to be trained on that are specific to that work center. And again, those tasks that are going to be unarchived are the ones that are the ones that are done in that new work center that you were already trained on before you got there. All right, so let's talk about the review. Now, one of the important things that needs to happen is have a conversation between the supervisor and the employee to let them know what I'm trained on or what I need training on, and it also lets the supervisor know what I need to train an employee on. There's a step in the Wing OJT program called the initial evaluation, and what this means is that you and your supervisor will sit down and review your individual training plan that they built for you earlier in one of the earlier steps. They'll go through the list of tasks and say, I'm going to get you trained on all these, get you up to speed. So for a new employee, this could be creating your roadmap to getting you trained on everything that you need to do. And again, it could go back to an employee transferring from one work center, that chance to discuss what I'm already trained on. Now, the initial evaluation is a step that you go in and you just click in there to say that I have completed my initial evaluation. The supervisor does the same thing. They say, I have conducted the initial evaluation. This makes sure that we have a conversation between the employee and the supervisor to make sure that they are getting the knowledge of what's expected of them on a day-to-day basis, or what, once they get trained, will be expected to do on a day-to-day basis. All right, so once the initial evaluation is completed, supervisors will then go in and identify trainers by task. Why you're assigned multiple trainers is you could have someone who's an expert on one task and someone who's an expert on the other, and you want to make sure you're getting the best training. So the supervisor is able to go in there and assign trainers onto an employee's record so they can go in and train you on a specific task. So you could have multiple trainers on your training record that can go in and document that training. And that is the last step in the process for the supervisor as far as getting everything going to get you on your path to getting you trained. So once we've built the master training plan from the supervisor and we've built the individual training plans, we've conducted the initial evaluations, we've assigned the trainers, now it's time for the trainers to go and train. Now, the trainer could also be the work center supervisor. And the first step that a trainer needs to do is they need to go in and put a start date on a task. So that's the next step in the process. Now, after that step is done, the trainer then needs to contact you and say, hey, I want to conduct training to get you trained on this process. So once they've made that contact, then they're going to start training you on the task. The first thing they will do is demonstrate the proficiency. They'll show you how to do it. Then you will go back and demonstrate that proficiency once you and the trainer feel that it's time for you to demonstrate that proficiency. Now we'll stop there for a minute, and again we'll go back to let's say a journeyman who has come from Hill going to Tinker. And they are already trained on everything. When they conduct that initial evaluation, it should be determined that that employee is trained on those tasks. Now, this is an integrity. You know, we have the core values in the Air Force, and one of them is integrity. That's a big part of this system, is integrity. And if the employee and the supervisor both decide that employee is trained on those tasks, then they can just document that they're trained on those tasks. It's going to be an integrity issue with that. Now, once we've determined that, or we're in the middle of training a new employee with proficiency, once we get ready to have the employee go back and demonstrate that proficiency, they demonstrate it, the trainer feels good about it, the employee feels good about it, then the trainer is then going to go in the system and document that the training is complete. They'll put a completion date in there. And then you have the last step in the process. You will then go in there and document that you are trained on the task. Now we'll pause right there for a minute. Let's talk about documenting that you're trained and that you're proficient on a task. When we say proficient on a task, we're not looking for a super item manager or a super PMS or a super equipment specialist. What signing and saying you're proficient means is that you have done the task, you know the reference material if applicable, you have touched it and able to do it successfully 1, 2, 3 times, and you and your trainer feel confident that you could do the task after some research and getting your reference material. Now, if there's ever a point where you do not feel you're proficient anymore, it's okay to speak up to a supervisor and tell them you need to get training on a task again. So, once you are confident that you're proficient on a task, then you go in and sign and document that you are trained on that task. So that's the process. If you have any further questions, you can contact your local WDO, TBA, OPR, or you can contact me. All right, we'll talk to you next time. See ya.